to see you, sir.
Good to see you too.
How much ink do you have? What do you have?
17.
17 tags?
17
But who's
tags.
counting?
Yeah, I stopped counting after
What was the
10.
first?
My lights out one, actually, when I was in high school, my sophomore year.
That's where you got it.
That's where I got it.
And you got that because you were...
Knocked out 4 people in one game. My sophomore year in high school. Yeah.
4 people in one game.
Yeah, 3 in the first half.
Okay. And so who was the one who used the phrase lights out?
Me. You know, it was
You
about...
nicknamed yourself?
Well, what happened was right after the game, I would say about 20 students come running up to me after the game, and they said, man, you knocked these guys' lights out. And I just played it cool, and I said, yeah, call me Lights Out. And that name, it stuck with me all the way through high school, college, and then the pros.
Shawne DeAndre Merriman was born in Upper Marlboro, Maryland on May 25th, 1984. When Shawne was 4 years old, there was a fire that sent him and his family packing, and over the next few years, Merriman's mother, Gloria, would have to drag her kids through a series of motels and apartments just outside of the D.C. area. Merriman remembers him and his sister sleeping in closets during this time because each night they'd be hearing bullets ricocheting off the buildings and the sidewalks right outside of where they live. When Merriman was 8 years old, him and his sister were trailing their mother around a corner when they heard gunshots and they saw sparks coming from the sidewalk. At this point, they both jumped to the ground to take cover. When they got up, they saw that a man had been shot 3 times and he was dead on the sidewalk. Now, imprinted in your mind at 8 years old, this is something that nobody should have to see at any point in their life, especially when you're 8 years old. At this point, Gloria, Shawne's mother, knew that there needed to be a change, and she took both of her kids to the local Boys and Girls Club. Now, this club had a football team, and Shawne quickly fell in love with the sport. So for that 2.5 hours that Shawne was playing, he actually said it was his favorite thing to do because he didn't have to deal with the struggles of his life at such a young age for that 2.5 hours. So that was something that could distract him. Now, God's ways are greater than our ways, and I truly believe that. But this wasn't the ideal situation for him to be introduced to the sport. But nevertheless, this was one of the key cogs to get him started to his path to the NFL. Shawne attended Douglas High School in Maryland, and he earned the name Pepco after a local power company. And this eventually morphed into the nickname Lights Out.
Yeah, I just have a whole different state of mind, you know, when it comes down to football. Yeah, this is really not a good one.
The mindset that he'll never let anybody beat him. I mean, and that would really bother him if he felt a man physically beat him.
It's nothing more, I mean, absolutely nothing more than you know, just the contact in football. Especially when you're winning the contact.
If you remember, he first earned this nickname after he knocked out 3 players in one game before halftime during his sophomore year. Man, he hits hard, man. Merriman actually hit so hard that they stopped letting him practice with the team, and he was only allowed to hit the tackling dummies. So all of his team would be practicing at one side of the field, and Shawne would be hitting the tackling dummies because he hit so hard. A direct quote from Merriman regarding his childhood was growing up not knowing whether the lights were going to be on, whether he was going to come home and there was going to be food on the table. He said that this is a lot of his anger and aggression and where it stemmed from. And I can't blame him. I mean, that would definitely make me angry. After 4 years at Douglas High School, Merriman was heavily recruited. However, he decided to stay in state for college, and he attended the University of Maryland. The 2002 to 2003 roster was full of all-pro players like E.J. Henderson, Vernon Davis, and Dominique Foxworth, to name a few. Now, that squad went 21-6 in Merriman's first 2 years on the team. During his freshman year, Shawne played in 14 games. He finished 3rd on the team with 5 sacks. He also posted 32 solo tackles, 6 tackle for losses, and 4 quarterback hurries, as well as he batted down 5 passes. Now, his best game at Maryland came against UNC, when he was named ACC Rookie of the Week for his performance. He actually finished with a game high and career high 3 sacks for a loss of 17 yards. He was second on the team with 8 tackles. He had 7 solo tackles. He was credited with 2 pass breakups, and he had a forced fumble. Now that's a great game. Despite battling injuries throughout his sophomore year, he never missed a game. He actually tied for 2nd in the ACC and led the team with 8.5 sacks. Tied for 5th on his team with 55 tackles, 40 solo, and recorded 9.5 tackle for losses. He also had a team-high 13 quarterback hurries and 2 fumble recoveries, while batting down 3 passes. Shawne was named ACC All-Conference Team and earned the Iron Turp Award for the strongest pound-for-pound player on the Maryland football roster. Now, you guys know in Shawne Merriman, this doesn't surprise you, but listen to these numbers. A 38.5-inch vertical jump, a 385-pound bench press, and a 590-pound squat on testing day. So I gotta tell you guys, as I was searching for this, I need something to uplift me as a Dolphins fan this year. I came across Cameron Wake had posted a 45.5-inch vertical jump in the combine. I didn't even know that up until this point, but that's Cam Wake, man. That's my boy. That's when, yeah, the Dolphins, man, they're really killing it this season, though. In his junior season, Shawne played in 11 games and finished with 8.5 sacks, 53 tackles, and 1 fumble recovery. After this junior year, Shawne declared for the draft and would not play in his senior year. Great move. I personally think that guys that are stars in college and have a chance in the NFL should always decide to declare for the draft, especially a year early. Football's such a tough sport, and the risk for injury is just too high to play that next year, and especially when there's no benefits. So he declared for the draft. The Chargers had the 12th overall pick in the 2005 draft. They acquired this from the 2004 Eli Manning-Phillip Rivers trade.
And then the 4th pick were made, and so for the rights to Eli Manning, the Chargers, they got the Phillip Rivers, and then they get this pick right now, the 12th overall, which would have been the Giants' #1 pick. Hence the Giants don't have a first-round pick this year. They got a 3, which they used to take a kicker, and then they got a 5, which they used to trade for a starting tackle, Roman Obin.
So the Chargers needed a pass rusher bad, so they decided to take Merriman with their first-round pick. After a really long holdout, Merriman did sign a 5-year, $11.5 million contract with the Chargers. Because of this holdout, he didn't actually get into the starting lineup until week 7, but when he did, he made a serious impact for the team. He recorded 6 sacks in his first 4 starts, and he finished his rookie campaign with 10 sacks and 43 tackles, and was voted the NFL's Defensive Rookie of the Year, along with a Pro Bowl nod. Shawne will go on to make the Pro Bowl 3 consecutive years in a row, and despite having an over 500 record that year, the Chargers didn't make the playoffs during his rookie campaign. As well as having issues during his beginning of the 2005 season with the holdout, he also had issues in his 2006 season. He tested positive for steroids, facing a 4-game suspension, and this incident actually led to the Merriman rule, which basically stated at that time that any player who tested positive for steroids is ineligible to be selected to the Pro Bowl or allowed to win any performance awards from the year they tested positive. He came back from this 4-game suspension with a vengeance. He only played in 12 games that year, and he still led the league with 17 sacks. Now, the Chargers had the best regular season record, going 14-2. San Diego made it all the way to the divisional round, only to lose to New England at home by 3 points. New England, huh? New England. Nate Kading did have a chance to hit a 54-yard kick. It's a long kick. He missed it. New England, always New England. This was Merriman's and the Chargers Super Bowl season that never was, in my opinion. In 2007, Shawne would finish again with double-digit sack numbers. He would reach 12.5 by season's end. He also had 54 tackles and 2 fumble recoveries. Chargers won the AFC West again and would make it to the conference championship, only to get knocked out by New England again. Man. Shawne only accounted for 1 sack and 11 total tackles during the 2007 playoff run. However, from 2005 to 2007, he had more sacks than any other player in the NFL. He actually edged out Hall of Famer Jason Taylor by 1 full sack in that time frame. Shawne was tough as nails, and we know this. And up until the 2008 season, he never really missed any time due to injuries. Doctors had told him that he could sustain a possible career-threatening injury if he chose to play without having surgery. I would always have the surgery on this. On August 27th, he stated he would forego surgery and play football with this injury. Obviously, he quickly changed his mind 2 weeks later, and he would go with the reconstructive knee surgery. He would miss the entire 2008 season, though, and Shawne wasn't getting any younger. I personally think this knee injury is what ultimately had an impact on ending his career. Overcompensation of other body parts because of the knee probably took a toll over time. I have no evidence, I'm just guessing that this could be it, but you never know. In the 2009 season, he had injuries to his foot and his knees still. The production dropped a lot this year, and Shawne would only have 4 sacks in 14 games. To make matters worse, dealing with issues on the field with injuries, he also had issues off the field, and he had allegations from his former girlfriend, Tila Tequila. So the story she claimed was that Shawne had choked and restrained her when she attempted to leave his home. Less than a week later, all these charges were dropped. That's great, but yet it was another distraction on top of the injuries he was already dealing with. Merriman could feel the Chargers pushing him out at this point, yet he still wanted to remain a Charger for the rest of his career. After a short holdout, Merriman signed a franchise tender and reported to camp. Then on October 13th, he was placed on IR when he re-injured his calf. Chargers announced that Shawne would be released when he became healthy. It's unfortunate when a professional athlete's career comes to an end and it's not on their own terms, but you can feel at this point that Shawne's body was just breaking down on him. Once on waivers, the Buffalo Bills picked him up immediately. He ended up signing a 2-year, $10.5 million contract. However, this really didn't pay off for the Bills. During his 2-year stint, he only appeared in 15 games and accounted for 2 sacks. Merriman was put on injured reserve both seasons in Buffalo, and eventually he'd be released. So at 29 years of age, Merriman announced his retirement on March 5th, 2013. I do believe if not for his injuries, Shawne would have played in the league as long as he possibly could. He loved football that much and he loved the game. And it's unfortunate that it had to end because of the injuries. But since his retirement, he had not slowed down. He's obviously got a lot left in the tank. Shawne signed a contract with the WWE. He almost signed to fight in a Japanese MMA event. He has partnered with a NASCAR team. He signed with the World Bare Knuckle Fighting Federation. Merriman's most recent venture, he collaborated with 2 combat sports promoters to start Lights Out Extreme Fighting. Now this had his inaugural fights May 11, 2019, and we'll see what the future holds for this. All we know is Merriman is a fighter and he's been his whole life. He's an iconic NFL legend that will not be forgotten. That's all I have for you guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Drop a like and leave a comment down below on what NFL player you'd like me to do a video on next. Platinum Level Sports, my name's Chris Kupari. Until next time.